One captain gave everything to Wrexham, and the club repaid him by letting him walk out the door for nothing. Decades later, his son just revealed the truth about what his father sacrificed, and why Eddie May's story is one every Red Dragon supporter needs to hear. Alright Wrexham fans, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because we cover the Red Dragons like nobody else, the stories that matter, the legends that built this club, and the history that makes Wrexham special. Today I've got something proper emotional for you. This isn't about tactics, transfers, or league tables. This is about the soul of Wrexham AFC. This is about a captain who wore the armband with pride, who led the lads into European battles, who embodied everything this club stands for, and then got cast aside like he never mattered. His name was Eddie May, and his son just shared something that's got every true Wrexham supporter feeling every emotion at once. Stick with me. This story deserves to be told properly. Right, let's talk about Eddie May. And if you don't know that name, you're about to learn why it should be carved into the walls of the racecourse ground. Few names in Wrexham's history represent the soul of this football club quite like Eddie May. This wasn't just some player who turned up, did his job, and moved on. This was a captain with a spine made of Welsh steel, a leader who dragged Wrexham into battles against Europe's elite, a man who lived and breathed football in North Wales in a way that modern players, no disrespect, can barely comprehend. Eddie May captained Wrexham during one of the most glorious periods in the club's history. We're talking FA Cup quarterfinals. We're talking European nights under the racecourse lights. We're talking about a time when Wrexham wasn't just surviving, they were competing, they were feared, they were making noise on the biggest stages. For 8 years, Eddie May gave absolutely everything to this football club. Every tackle, every header, every drop of sweat. It was all for the red shirt. He was the heartbeat of the side, the voice in the dressing room, the leader who wouldn't let standards slip even when things got tough. And then, Wrexham let him go. For free. Nothing. Not a penny. Think about that for a second. Your captain, the bloke who's led your team through some of the biggest matches in the club's history, the player who embodies everything you want your team to represent. And the club just releases him, opens the door and says, "Cheers for everything, Eddie. Off you go." For loads of Wrexham supporters at the time, it felt like a betrayal. It felt incomprehensible. How do you just discard a legend like that? How do you not find a way to keep him involved, even if he wasn't playing every week? How do you not show some loyalty to a man who showed you nothing but loyalty for nearly a decade? But here's the thing about Eddie May, and this is what makes his story so powerful. He didn't let that bitterness consume him. He didn't slag off Wrexham in the press. He didn't write some angry autobiography having a go at the board. He just kept going. At 33 years old, an age when most players are winding down or dropping into non-league, Eddie May still had something left in the tank. And he proved it. He joined Swansea City and helped them climb into the first division. Proper football, top-level stuff. Eddie May was still a leader, still making an impact, still showing why he'd been such a force at Wrexham. But wait, it gets even more interesting. Years later, Eddie May ended up at Cardiff City. Cardiff, the Bluebirds, Wrexham's fiercest Welsh rivals. And what did he do? He helped them earn promotion as well. He became a legend at Cardiff, just like he'd been a legend at Wrexham. Now, some Wrexham supporters, especially the hardcore ones who live and breathe the rivalry, weren't happy about that. How could their former captain go and help Cardiff? How could he wear their shirt and lead them to success? To them, it felt like a second betrayal. But here's what Eddie May understood, and here's what his son Paul just reminded everyone. Football is bigger than tribal rivalries when you're talking about a man's career, his family, his livelihood. Eddie May was a professional. He was a footballer, and he was bloody good at what he did. Two rival clubs, loved by both sets of supporters. Well, most of them anyway. Hated by some on both sides for helping the other. But Eddie May didn't care about any of that. He just played football. He led teams. He won matches. That was his job, and he did it brilliantly wherever he went. Paul May, Eddie's son, recently spoke out about his father's legacy, and what he said has been hitting Wrexham supporters right in the feels. He said, "Wrexham FC ran through my father's veins. He did everything for the club without caring what anyone else thought." Read that again. Wrexham FC ran through his veins, despite how it ended. Despite being released for nothing after 8 years of service, Despite everything that happened next, Eddie May never stopped loving Wrexham. It was in his blood. It was part of who he was. Paul went on to reveal something that's going to mean the world to proper Wrexham fans. He's kept his father's original match shirts all these years. The actual shirts Eddie May wore when he was captaining Wrexham through those European nights, those FA Cup runs, those battles in the old 3rd and 4th divisions. Shirts that carry the sweat, the history, the memories of a golden era. And Paul's decided to donate them. Not sell them. Not keep them locked away in a private collection. He's giving them to the Welsh Football Museum in Wrexham so every supporter, young and old, new fans who've just discovered the club through Reynolds and McElhenney, lifelong supporters who were there watching Eddie play, can see them up close, can connect with that history, can remember what Wrexham used to be and what it can be again. More than 50 years have passed since Eddie May last pulled on a Wrexham shirt. Half a century. Generations of fans have come and gone. The football world has changed beyond recognition. But Eddie May's legacy, that's still echoing around the racecourse ground. Think about what Wrexham is now. Hollywood owners, Netflix documentary, global fan base, record attendances, back-to-back promotions. The fairy tale story that's captured hearts around the world. But underneath all that glamour, underneath the cameras and the celebrity and the modern success, there's a foundation. There's a history. There are players like Eddie May who built this club's identity long before Ryan Reynolds ever heard of Wrexham. And here's the brutal truth that Paul May's revelation forces us to confront. Eddie May was forgotten by the club's hierarchy, not by the fans. True supporters never forgot, but by the people running Wrexham at the time. He was discarded, released, sent on his way without a second thought. No testimonial, no fanfare, just gone. For decades, his story was known mainly by older supporters who'd been there to see him play. Younger fans didn't grow up hearing about Eddie May the way they heard about other club legends. His name wasn't plastered on the walls. His achievements weren't celebrated the way they should have been. But time has a funny way of correcting these things. Slowly, quietly, Eddie May's reputation has grown. Historians and football writers started looking back at that era of Wrexham's history and realized what they had in Eddie May. Supporters started sharing stories, memories, tributes. And now, with Paul May donating those precious shirts to the museum, Eddie's legacy is being cemented exactly where it belongs. In Wrexham, at the racecourse ground, where it all began. There's something deeply moving about a son honoring his father's memory this way. Paul could have kept those shirts. They are priceless family heirlooms, irreplaceable pieces of personal history. But he's chosen to share them with the Wrexham community because he understands what his father understood. Wrexham AFC is bigger than any individual. It's a collective heartbeat. It's a community. It's a family. And maybe, just maybe, this is a reminder to everyone involved with Wrexham today. From the Hollywood owners to Phil Parkinson to every player pulling on that red shirt, that loyalty matters. That the players who give everything for this club deserve to be remembered, celebrated, honored. Not just the ones who score the goals or win the promotions, but the ones who embody the spirit of what Wrexham is supposed to be. Eddie May was one of those players. A captain who led by example. A man who treated every match like it mattered because to him, it did. Someone who understood that wearing the Wrexham armband wasn't just about football. It was about representing a town, a community, a way of life. So when you're at the racecourse ground for the next match, when you're singing your heart out on the terraces, when you're watching the lads battle it out in League One, remember that you're part of something that stretches back decades. You're standing where fans stood when Eddie May was captain. You're part of a story that didn't start with Hollywood and won't end when the cameras stop rolling. Eddie May gave 8 years of his life to Wrexham. He was cast aside and never complained. He succeeded elsewhere and never forgot where he came from. And now, through his son's generosity, his story is being preserved for future generations to discover and appreciate. That's the story of Eddie May, folks. A captain, a leader, a legend who the club forgot but who never forgot the club. Wrexham FC ran through his veins, and now his legacy will live forever in the museum at the racecourse ground. Look, we cover loads of transfer news, match analysis, tactical breakdowns on this channel. But sometimes you need to step back and remember what this club is really about. It's about people like Eddie May. It's about sacrifice, loyalty, and love for the shirt. Paul May just gave every Wrexham supporter a gift, the chance to see history up close, to connect with a captain who embodied everything this club stands for. That's special. That's what makes football more than just a game. Drop a comment below if you've got memories of Eddie May, or if you're planning to visit the museum to see those shirts. Hit that like button to honor a proper Wrexham legend. And subscribe if you haven't already, because we'll keep telling these stories. The ones that matter. The ones that make Wrexham what it is. Come on, you Reds.